Today on the Videomaker Podcast, a conversation with travel vlogger Juliana Broste. We talk about how to get the best video possible out of a mobile phone, and we argue about whether or not anyone really needs 6K video. All that and more coming up. But first, I want to quickly make you aware of Videomaker's email newsletter. It's full of great Videomaker articles covering the art and technology of video production. You'll find how-to articles, articles that cover the concepts and principles of visual storytelling, reviews of the latest video cameras and software, a roundup of the latest video news, buyer's guides that cover everything from camera support, computers, field monitors, and tons more. Plus, if you want to get alerts about our free instructional webinars and receive invitations to our in-person networking events across the United States, the Videomaker email newsletter is the best way to stay up to speed. Sign up today at videomaker.com/newsletter. That's videomaker.com/newsletter. Now, on to the show. Welcome to the Videomaker Podcast. I'm Mike Wilhelm, and to my left, as always, is Chris Monlux.
Hello.
And to my right is Nicole Lajeunesse.
Hey.
And today our guest is Juliana Broste.
Hi!
And before we dive into things, just a quick housekeeping note that tickets are still available for our meetup, Videomaker IRL, in San Francisco, February 11th. Come on out. It's free to attend, free food and drink. And it's a great opportunity to meet, local videographers and filmmakers in the San Francisco area. You can register for that at videomakerevents.com.
It's a good time.
Yeah, super fun. Okay, so today our special guest is Juliana Broste. Juliana, did I pronounce that correctly?
You did great. That was
Okay, great.
awesome.
I've been really bad at pronunciation, so I made sure to write it phonetically here. Juliana Broste, a.k.a. Traveling Jules. Jules is a longtime travel vlogger, known not only for her adventures around the world, but also her video tutorials and reviews. She's posted videos from across the United States to Italy to Wales to Morocco, Aruba, South Korea, and all kinds of other places. So, Jules, why don't you just tell us to start, how did you get started making travel videos?
That is a great question, because it's funny. I've always been a creator and a maker and a video girl as long as I can remember, but I wasn't a traveler. And when I was in college, I studied abroad and I got bitten by the travel bug. So I was kind of working as a snowboard instructor, actually, in Vail, teaching snowboarding, and realized, hey, I should try to make money combining both of my passions, from traveling to making content. And I was able to kind of, work as my own one-woman show by, owning a camera, owning a computer. This is a time when all the technology became kind of cheaper and actually accessible. So I was really lucky to be at that point of, the technology curve.
So travel is, especially when we're talking about like the places that you go, is not exactly inexpensive thing to do. I mean, a lot of YouTubers start out and they got to shoot in their own homes for years and years before they can ever do anything with a budget. So how do you just decide out of nowhere, just like, I'm going to travel the world?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I was probably one of the earlier creators when it kind of started becoming that point where you could almost be hired for that dream job everybody wants, right? Because I just had this skill set to do it all. And so when people started realizing, like, hey, we should hire somebody to go around and make content for us, I was there like, hey, I'm ready, let's go. So one of the first opportunities was called the Aha Moment, where we toured the country, interviewing people for inspiring stories. And then another summer I got hired from Viator, making videos of tours that they sell, like things to do. And what do I do when I get to Boston or Miami or Los Angeles? And so that was our job, was to go capture the adventures that you could do on your vacation. And so I've done a handful of these kind of unique experiences, from exploring small towns on the most fun small towns, to like ski resorts in Colorado, all kinds of different, themed adventures.
So basically, it sounds like you got paid, I guess, by a travel board or a tourism company, and then they just they didn't say, give us your videos because we need content and we're going to put them on our website, but they actually just like let you publish it on your own? Or was it both? Were you like publishing it to your own YouTube channel and they get to use the video for their own purposes, or how does that work out?
This is a great conversation because these are the talks that I have every day is, okay, we're going to make content. What are we going to do with it? Am I going to put it on my channel? Are you going to put it on your channel? Are we going to share it? Like, how do we conquer and divide? And when I started, being an influencer wasn't a thing. Like having your own channel wasn't a thing. So being a journalist, a storyteller was always my thing. So whether or not I had an audience, I was able to tell stories, especially through my point of view. And so whether that's working with a media company who's like feeding the beast, they have to produce content all the time, versus a brand that wants to tell their story. I just found opportunities to do it. And now, as an influencer, it's so cool that people can actually just start a blog and be consistent and, get their dream job by their own way. So I think there's a lot of different ways to get that job. So
you mentioned that you're like a one-woman show, which has got to be a competitive advantage in the sense that, your costs are a little lower, right? But it's got to be tough on you, right? Like you're going on these trips alone, I guess, and you're your own camera operator and your own editor and all of that. Is there anything that you job out, or is it really like you're doing everything?
That's a great question. It's a little of both. I mean, I love the freedom of being a one-woman show. Telling the stories that I want to tell in the way that I want to tell them. And I've worked on big productions where you're doing a small part of a big thing. And I was always thinking like, I want to take the story I researched into the field and I want to film it and then I want to edit it. And they were like, no, you can't do that. That's someone else's job. And so I love the freedom of being able to tell the story from start to finish by myself. But I do struggle with having enough time to do everything. And then you realize, okay, the power of a team and what it means when you were to outsource. Like maybe I need a second camera operator. Maybe I'm going to hire an editor. So I kind of walk the line depending on the project, if it's something that I'm going to do by myself or something where I feel like I should build a small team to do with me.
I see. So your videos are they scripted or are you improvising them?
It's funny. I think people think of me as a shooter and a field person and an on-camera host. But I actually feel like I'm a really good editor because you have to be able to take all the good out of a lot of bad and make it really look good, right? So it's funny. I think I do often plan ahead and I'll sort of make bullet points of storylines that I'm really interested in or cool facts. I like to research some interesting tidbits or just tidbits for people. But a lot of it is just that magic of what happens in real life. And you just can't script that. So I think I'm really a product of start with a plan and like change the plan and end up with something totally different.
Yeah, so, in watching your videos, I don't remember which video it was, but one of them had like a cutaway and it was you in front of a camera and we could see the camera. And I was thinking, it's just her and a camera out there. There's no teleprompter or anything. At the same time, I felt like as I was watching these videos that you have really kind of like a Travel Channel kind of feel, I guess. Like maybe it's not formally scripted, but it sounds to me like your delivery is such that, it's just different than like your delivery that you're giving us on a Skype call right now, right? So as you're doing that and you're going throughout your adventure on this trip, are you experiencing something and then going, I should document this, and so let's come up with something to say on the camera about this thing that I just experienced? Or is it really like, you've got the day out and you've literally written it and you've practiced the lines?
No, I have no lines. I think I have, maybe from my previous life, working in television, I understand how words should sound on TV. For example, a lot of vloggers like to tell you about their day and they tell you about it as if it happened yesterday. Like first I ate lunch and then I ate dinner. And I know from television, it's best to really say it in the present. So I'll say, I'm eating lunch, I'm eating dinner. And those types of tweaks, I think, give me that more maybe presenter-y kind of professional like polish. But it's not at all like I haven't often typed out scripts for vlogs, because it's a lot of it. You just know I have to introduce this place and I want to explain why it's so awesome. So maybe I'll say this, and then you try it again and you're like, maybe I'll say it this way. Whereas some of my other content, like maybe travel tips or camera tips, some of those I will script, because I know I have certain talking points that I need to squeeze into this, fun, punchy video. So I think I figured out a way to kind of do both with the tool set of understanding how writing works, if that makes sense, for TV.
Yeah. So for your vlogs, how much do you think you're leaving out? Like what's your like shoot to edit ratio?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably not the best. I shouldn't brag about that.
No, I'm just wondering, like, how much do you film like throughout the day out like on an adventure? Like, do you document the entire time and then choose the highlights, or is it kind of like more off camera time than on camera time? Or
that's a great question. And this is a big struggle for most people in my field, is trying to figure out what is the balance. Like, are we 100% on? Or are we having a vacation and just like working a little bit? People are all over that spectrum. And for me, I try to make sure. My mom actually gets mad at me because she thinks, it's important to rest. She's like, don't forget to rest, honey. Like, don't forget to sleep. And it's funny because I love to go, and I will forget to sleep sometimes. And I have to set boundaries for myself to really say, okay, this story is about 5 adventures, and I cannot go off filming every meal and every conversation and every hotel room, because those things are not part of, my focus. Yeah. So I think it helps to have a focus. And for me, that's adventure. It's fun. It's things to do. For other people, they might be only food, or they might be only budget or only luxury. So if you pick a niche, I think it can help you narrow in on the kinds of stuff that you should film. And then also we can ignore everything else, because it's not going to make it.
Yeah.
And that's helpful.
I think that's good advice. The more focused you can be, like, I feel like the stronger your content can be, for sure.
Yeah. It's a theme now to be a niche, right? So it's helpful to pick a team and go with it. I mean, even as a travel vlogger, I still get to cover a little bit of food, and I still do, a little bit of other things, whether it's art or fashion or something. So that kind of travel is kind of my sneaky way of doing everything.
So you have a lot of videos on your channel, and it looks like you're posting several a month. So, like, how many days out of the year are you away from home? Like, are you just like living in a travel trailer, and you're just like constantly on the move, or what?
Oh, I wish, right? No, actually, I have a place, and I love it. It's a little condo, and it's a great place for me to recharge. And we've got to charge our batteries. It's fun to use cameras and create content, and you fill up those memory cards, but you need a place to kind of download, right? So for me, that's Denver, Colorado. And I'm probably on the road, I like to say, like, half of the month. Some months, more, some months less. But I definitely get a little itchy when I'm here too long. But I also know that I like to mix up some Colorado adventures as well as like international adventures. So that way it kind of feels like some small and some long johns throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. So you must have a pretty impressive
passport stamp collection.
Passport stamp collection. I was thinking like frequent flyer points.
Shot glasses from every state.
I'll tell you a secret. I like to tell people that I'm loyal to everybody. So whatever airline you're flying, get the frequent flyer card, because you never know if you're going to be flying them again. It's definitely great to have credit cards where you can, get that bonus, that sign-in bonus. So definitely I hack a little bit so that I can keep things flowing and feel like I have like freedom to just say, hey, what are we doing this weekend? Maybe I'll just do that thing I wanted to do. So
sounds pretty nice.
So when you have time off, I assume that you're not traveling at that point. Like, is travel work for you now?
It is. It's funny. For me, I really wanted to tell stories for my job, and travel is for me the most fun kind of stories. So I do look at travel as work, but I still like to travel for fun. So, I'll go to a conference, let's say, to like network, make friends, see colleagues. But then, I love to just kind of have that little extra time to myself on that day I fly to go do that thing I wanted to do that's not related to work. So, yeah, I think that's why we do it, is we travel because we want to experience new things. We want to learn about the world, maybe, try a new food or see a cool monument. And so if you go to a place and you don't do anything outside of that conference room, it's like, why did you go anywhere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard from someone else who did not travel videos. This person was a travel blogger. I don't even know if travel bloggers are a thing anymore without video, but their whole thing was they like to travel and they just blogged in order to get the free hotel stay. Yeah. Have you tried that? Does that work?
I don't make that part of my business plan, but definitely when you find people you like on the internet that are doing travel, it is that, again, the spectrum of people who are doing it for fun, for vacation, and then the people who are making a full-time living, like 6 figures, they are just, that is their job. And so it's hard, like as a career person, and you guys know this from video too, it's like, I call it's like they're peeing in the pool, right? You don't want anyone peeing in the pool. So sometimes when people do a lot of stuff for free, it's really hard, right, for people who want to get paid to actually like survive in that system. And I think in general, there's a lot of different ways to look at doing stuff for free, but and there's a lot of offerings. So it's a very complex topic, but I think it all things exist. So for people who want to get into that field, it's nice to know if you're on vacation, you could just do something for fun and take a little freebie. But at the same point, you don't want to devalue what people are doing for their job. So I want to make sure, like, the content is always and I hope, and I think there's probably always going to be a marketplace for content, but yeah, things are ever changing as things are more available, more free. I don't think it will, I think there's always going to be a marketplace for that kind of thing, but it definitely changes the industry, doesn't it?
We feel it here we're in Chico with the college. It always ends up being when someone is wanting to get something for free, they'll just go to the college students to try to achieve that. And it's always unfortunate because it's like, what you really want is the pro doing this, because I know that's what you want the outcome to be, but you're seeing it as this other way. And it's kind of like the black market of under the table video work in that way, but I mean, you got to cut your teeth too. So, I mean, that's a lot of people, that's how they benefit from it. But, the idea that you're going to get experience off of this piece of art you made, or this is for your demo reel, I really loathe those types of statements.
I know, it's so challenging, and especially for people just starting out. It's just, there's so many different ways to look at it. A good friend of mine, Joel Pilger, he's kind of a consultant in this video world, and I love one of his quotes about when to take a job. It's like the 3 R's. If there's a good relationship, like somebody that you really want to work with, or a company that you want to work with, it will be good for your reel. Show the next client what you can do, or just show off like a new tool or a product, or reward if there's money involved, right? And hopefully it has all 3 of those things. But it gets kind of sketchy, right, when there's just like part of the puzzle together. You're like,
yeah, for sure. Okay, Jewel, so why don't you just tell us, like, maybe if we take, for example, the video that you did in Italy, what is your process like? Like, what gear are you taking? When you step off the plane, are you shooting right away, or do you have like a formal shoot scheduled, or are you just like, flying by the seat of your pants with a camera around your neck, or what's it like? What's it like on one of these trips?
That's a great question, because for example, in Italy, or many trips, actually, I do a lot of trips with the tourism boards. So they'll set up an itinerary and say, here are some cool things we think you might like. We'll organize how to get from A to B. So there's a lot of stuff that we work together to kind of coordinate. And not every story are ones that are a good fit for me. But as we explore, I'm sometimes able to find an angle that I love. Some things don't ever make it to the final cut. Other things I'm just like stoked, like have amazing experiences and get to capture that. I'll take, for those kinds of trips, I don't want to take too much gear because I'm usually by myself and I have to carry everything. And that is the worst. Like every traveler knows, and hopefully every videographer knows, like never bring too much stuff. And I have a really hard time with that because I love stuff. There was this, I was in a TV show a long time ago with Outside Television, and it was about 5 filmmakers in the Colorado backcountry. We had to like hike up a wintry mountain with all of our camera gear. And I couldn't not bring all this stuff. And as a result, I made an impression on everybody who is a experienced camper, hiking up mountains. So if you're traveling, you want to think about being a hiker, camping, hiking up a mountain, because you're going to be, on a bus in small places. You're going to be, moving from small cafes. I mean, Europe, a lot of places are just, in Asia, you just have less personal space. So for sure, you have to really think again and overthink what gear you're bringing and dump a lot of stuff. And sometimes you regret it, but it can definitely weigh you down. So for Italy, I brought like one bag, just one big backpack. I almost always have a selfie stick, a tripod, got to have your camera, probably another lens or 2. It depends which ones, or a GoPro, just like some other variety for versatility. If it's not a GoPro or a DSLR, maybe it's a point and shoot, like something really small for vlogging. And then I love to definitely have a microphone. I like to have a small microphone that you can wear, like a lav, as well as, your shotgun, so you can capture all those natural sounds. A padded backpack. You've got to have a headphone. That's pretty much and then all the extras, like lens cloths, little bit gaffer tape, a couple little extras like that. So.
Extra batteries,
lots of memory. 2 hard drives. Gotta have that.
Do you bring any lighting gear? Or no?
I do. I make a habit of bringing a really cute, small little light that, like an LED that you can just sort of put in your pocket. And it's not that much. It's not very heavy, so you have it in a pinch.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't have like a big lighting setup. So it's something where you just use the natural light a lot. Every time I brought a reflector, I end up just not using it. So I feel like, why did I bring this? So it's definitely a work in progress. I'm always changing my bag too, depending on which location. So I wouldn't say I have the go-to bag. It's always changing. I now I have a gimbal. I love, but yeah, if I change lenses or cameras, or, everything could suddenly shift. So gotta be on top of it.
We were just sort of commenting before the show here that I think that you have the best lighting of any of our guests we've ever had on this show, and that includes a number of test Skypes that we've done. So I want to know what is your lighting setup there, right literally right now?
Turn the camera. I just have one big LED kind of pointing this way, like a flood. And I have 2 very big windows here in my office, which the shades are down because whenever the shade's up, it's it's too hard. So
it works out. I assumed that when you're traveling, you're using a lot of natural light, and it sounds like that may be true. So I guess I was going to say you're a master of natural light, but the big LED panel is probably a big help as well.
It's helpful. But yeah, when I try to use natural light in here, I'll do auditions and against this wall, and I don't do them at night because I just love the daytime light that we have. And that's the wall that faces the window. So if ever I can point my face at the window to get that natural light, that's usually my favorite option. But yeah, I mean, lighting is everything, right? It's so ignored and it's such a specialty. But I think that's the one thing that if you learn how to use it, it's super fabulous.
Yeah.
When you have good light, you want to take good advantage of it. And I always find that when you're especially in natural lighting and you come into this place and you have some natural, just some special light there that you always, how am I going to leverage this light to use it in the best way? Because it is special. It's not, you don't always just come into, in fact, I think you run into bad light more than you run into good light. and dealing with the balance of light fixtures versus natural sun is always a fun challenge, I imagine.
Yeah, I remember having
but if you do have... Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
I want to hear... No, you go ahead. I want to hear what you say.
Okay, I was just going to say, I remember having this aha moment about lighting years ago. When smartphone video was just starting to take off, we had like a microphone that we needed to test. I don't remember why we were testing it, but I was like, okay, I'm going to go test this in the studio. So I walked in the studio and I hit the light switch. At the time, it was like you hit a regular light switch and the studio lights came up. And I went in there and I put the phone down and I plugged in the little microphone, and I sat there and I did my little microphone test. And when I went back to look at it, I was like, holy cow, looks like really pro video. And it's just because I was standing in a really nicely lit room. And I was like,
right.
It just for me, it was like this realization that you don't really need an incredible camera to have really spectacular looking video. And it really comes down to just like getting the right light.
Yes, because they all perform well with good light, but when you have bad light,
that's when they fall apart.
Yeah.
And I like to bring also a light that's like I like to have the bicolor option, right? Because that's the biggest pet peeve of mine is to have like weird blue light on your face and then like tons of like orange light behind you. So to have just that little gel or a bicolor LED is really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. We have someone here at Videomaker who is sensitive to that, and if this person is in mixed color temperature lighting, they get like sick to their stomach. Like if there's some daylight color light and some tungsten color light in the same place.
You're like, no.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe that's a good spot to just take a quick break, and we'll come back and talk about a couple of news posts. For years, Videomaker has been producing quality video training to help you take your video skills to the next level. Now you can access it all with a Videomaker Plus account. We've got courses covering it all, from learning about how to navigate your camera with our course on camera controls and settings, to learning about color grading, or even how to start a video business. Videomaker Plus has something for you. The Videomaker library's content is split into 4 levels. If you're just starting, try our inexpensive starter level membership, which gives you access to essential video training and a digital subscription to Videomaker magazine. For the most professional training, go all the way up to our professional tier membership, which gives you access to our entire library of training and covers advanced concepts like running a video business or becoming a documentary filmmaker. Plus, the professional tier is the only membership with access to our popular webinar recordings. Get started today for as little as $1.67 a month, $1.67. Sign up today at videomaker.com/VM+. That's videomaker.com/VM+. Okay, welcome back. Let's see. We have 2 topics to discuss today. Neither of them are actually news. They're just like recent articles on videomaker.com, both opinion articles. So one is just this topic of how we can get the best quality video possible, like professional quality video out of a mobile device. And we just kind of talked about it a little bit, I guess, with lighting, right? But nowadays there's all kinds of new ways to improve your video quality. I don't know if you remember this, Chris, like a few years ago, there was like some iPhone that came out and they were really pushing the video, and they're like, we're going to make a film about, shooting on this iPhone. And they showed the behind the scenes, and there was like this, $200,000 rig that they were putting it on, this little tiny phone. But now there's all kinds of things. So I guess I'll throw this out to anyone, I guess. Have you used any of those like camera stabilizers for phones? I've seen some like pretty incredible results out of these. Yeah,
they're affordable. So I was actually surprised that like I went to Best Buy the other day, and that like they had literally like 5 different gimbals to choose from and a few different mobile phone gimbals. And they like the DJI Osmo Mobile 3, I think that's the full name of it. We got to use, and I tested it, and they're usually 2-axis, not 3-axis, so they're not. It's not quite all of that same movement you get from a different gimbal. And I also found, because I was shooting on a camera that was kind of a weird length, and where the lenses were, that the actual gimbal got in the way of some of the wide angle shots. That the gimbal was in the shot, which was. Just kind of a weird thing to have to deal with. But, with like Filmic Pro or shooting on a camera like the Xperia 5, Xperia 5, that has, log or picture profiles in it, it can be nicer to do that. But I think it really just still, they're small sensors. So we're getting now multiple cameras, so multiple sensors with different lenses on them, so that the new iPhone has 3 cameras. Same with the Xperia 5 and 1, and the Pixel 4, right? I think.
The Pixel 4 has 2 cameras.
2 cameras. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But that small sensor still is hungry for light, so you're going to get kind of poor low light, and you're going to need some kind of audio interface if you want the audio to be rich. But these are the same kind of things you need for, a small interchangeable lens camera or whatever. It's the same kind of idea, but just already in your pocket. And of course, if you're editing on them too, that makes it really nice.
The editing is another thing, but I think the cell phone cameras, especially the new the latest generations, make up for their small sensor with processing and smart processing or whatever you want to call it. So not totally, but there is that advantage that cell phones have of having powerful processors devoted to image processing and powerful software, not just the image capture.
It reminds me of when shooting on a camcorder or fixed lens camera in general, that there's a lot of other things to deploy if you're trying to get that film look, if you're trying to get that, and through lighting, through your frame rate, through your look, all those things can play into it, into trying to convince the viewer of what you're shooting on. And I think that it's definitely come a long way, and I think the workflow is really, really awesome if you're able to stay all in phone, and I'm really jealous of those that get to do that. But then again, I'm terribly restricted doing anything with the phone, especially in the moment, whereas I just like to have those textile things to grab onto. So if I can't get the exposure right, I'm getting mad at my phone, whereas I'm problem solving with the camera. I'm going, I can change the ISO or this kind of thing, and it's can I control the ISO here? Those kinds of things that it's not full manual control, I guess.
So, we talked about lighting, basically. Those cameras are phones, I guess, are hungry for light. We know that. But with good lighting, it's going to be a great quality picture. We have basically professional camera movement now with these gimbals, and you could always put one on a dolly or jib if you really had, needed to or had access to one. And then there's sound, which there's pretty good microphones now for mobile devices, and actually you can get you can get little adapters too if you want to put a truly professional microphone on there. So there's a lot going on here, and then there's the advantage of the software side of things. So not only does the mobile phone have incredible processing power that cameras are often lacking, but the fact that they're basically open platforms is a big advantage over a camera. How often, Chris, does it happen when you're reviewing a camera where you're the menus suck in here, or why didn't they give us this resolution or frame rate, or why isn't there a log profile here, or whatever, right?
Often. Most of them suck, yeah.
On a mobile phone, if you don't like the camera app, just go get another one, right?
You can try out different versions and get more control that way.
Yeah, for sure. And all of these things lead to this scenario or this world, I guess, where you can create some pretty incredible things with the mobile phone. And we learned from Chris and Jordan last week, they're weaving mobile video into their normal YouTube videos, and no one's really even noticing. So actually, Jules, have you ever done that? Do you ever shoot a video mostly on a dedicated camera and then pick up shots with a mobile device and just edit it in and don't say anything to anyone?
Be don't tell. You know what? It's interesting because, when you're in the field and something cool happens and you want to capture that, you have a choice, right? Do I use my DSLR? Should I use my phone? And that's just a common problem everybody has. And not just problem, but also an advantage. But it's interesting because I definitely, when I shoot Insta stories, for example, and they're vertical, then it's okay, should I shoot it again, horizontal, just so I have it, or should I get out my camera? I found something fun is just to edit in an entire vertical video using my Insta stories. And I just found that's kind of a neat, but to still have an end product that's worth watching, which is kind of a fun little experiment I've been doing recently. But yeah, I think it's an interesting I topic.
I think it makes sense. You mentioned Insta stories. When when you know that it's going to be on social media and like pretty much social media exclusively, then it makes a lot of sense to shoot on your phone. If you want to use it for other purposes, you might want the flexibility that comes with footage from a camera.
Well, if you know what you're going to do with it, and you know you're not going to need to heavily grade it, it's not going to be that shot from your piece or whatever that really needs to be there. You choose the right tool for the job. The one thing that I continue to run into with using your phone as a camera, even though it is a camera, you're talking about they're already $1,000 or more. So you could be getting a dedicated camera that would probably shoot better video at that price. You buy it anyway. But here's the big thing. I've tested cameras or more peripherals, and I'm using my phone, and then I get a call. And it's like a call just interrupted my production, not because of the ringer, but because my camera is telling me there's someone there.
Off.
Yeah, exactly. Or it just gets in the way, and you're like, and now I just am shaking my thing, trying to tell it to stop or whatever.
Chris, I got to show you this feature that is on phones now, DND.
That's true. You can turn that on.
Oh man.
Well, that's why when I've reviewed phones, it's been like, oh, this is so nice. It doesn't have any. I'm not connecting it to having people call me. I'm not getting emails on it. I'm just using it as a camera, and then awesome. But like if I mix that in with my own usage of my phone, I'm killing the battery. I'm filling up the hard drive with other things.
Storage.
Yeah, exactly, and just all of the peripherals and stuff you're spending to make this thing get professional movement. Oh, you could do the same thing with a camera that costs the same thing and not try to get 2 for 1. I wouldn't choose to shoot on a cell phone unless that's all I could carry. Like I get if I was going to some remote place and I just needed to get a shot, I'd still be like, well, this is remote. I want to have a nice quality camera so that I come away with something that's really awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's great for vertical video. I think it'll be really cool when we, I guess, get to a resolution that, a center cut vertical of the video we're shooting in 16:9 will be great for putting in Insta or whatnot, or something like that, or at least getting guides for vertical video in every camera. And I think that's coming. And it's in some things, but not in everything.
I think the quality is probably like good enough for most people's purposes as far as like what you can capture. But the other stuff that you just brought up is really what's holding professionals back from using phones regularly in their productions. It's like, if it is actually your phone, then you don't want it to die. You don't want it to be occupied with this shot when you're trying to also talk to somebody, or somebody's trying to contact you or whatever, you're getting emails, like whatever. Like it's a communication device first. So like it's hard to make it a camera unless you're doing stuff like social media where it's just a short clip and it's actually communication too in a way. So it's like the job of the phone.
Well, it's good as just like a C or a D camera, right? Where say you're out on a shoot and you need to, over the course of this whole shoot, you're going to take 100 shots. And you're packing up and stuff's in the truck, you're ready to leave, and it's just like, oh crap, we forgot to get this thing.
Yeah.
Run in with your phone and grab it, and when you weave this one shot into this a video that contains, however many edits, who's really going to know?
I think the thing that I want to see is the other direction. I don't want to see cinema cameras get into phones. I want to see phones get into cinema cameras, more so for the workflow. Because it is amazing if you are making something for Insta and that's the focus of your thing and you're telling the story that way, that's rad. And you can edit and you can add filters and do all those kinds of things. And the workflow is just so smooth and so easy. And it's like, it's just done. And I can just go, I don't have to worry about the media that's in it. I put it up to the world. The world gets it now. And I love that. It's a temporary thing, but it would be so great if the connectivity with your camera was the same thing. Like, I would love it if instead of using media, I was just always capturing to my phone, and then I could just get to editing on it, without having the long amount of time to transfer. And I know, it's definitely getting better. In fact, that's like GoPro's idea of, they want to have you say, hey, that was a highlight, and then all of a sudden have it all to your phone, and goes, oh, there's all the highlights, sweet, I'm putting them in there. And I mean...
They'll even find them for you.
Yeah, exactly. They'll try to find your exciting things for you. But, I just think it's one of those things where if you're using a GoPro, I wouldn't say a modern one because I think they're still better than most phones or all phones. But that, you have a Hero 4 or something. I mean, I would interchange that with a phone easily. If what I'm doing with my phone will do it, I wouldn't bring the GoPro. Now, given waterproof, rugged, those kinds of things. Not going to probably happen with your phone, but if it's something you would do otherwise, if you're going to do it on a selfie stick or one of those gimbals with the selfie stick, now you got a gimbal or a jib. That's cool. And those types of movements are going to be the things that sell that lower quality footage too. So if you have access and really solid movement, it could be a small camera and not be that great, because the professionalism of the solid moves and the composition and whatnot are what going to sell the professionalness, not necessarily having 10 or 12-bit color or whatever. If stars align, you got the right light and everything looks good, you don't need much more than your phone.
Light is the thing.
Yeah, but lights.
Back to that.
Yeah.
So let's think about the reverse then. Again, last week, Chris and Jordan told us about how, they made this video that was too polished one time, and their viewers were upset. I've seen some media companies, not some, a lot of media companies posting like really professional videos in vertical, where it's clear like this is a full production. Jules, have you ever done that? I mean, it sounds like you're posting Instagram stories commonly. Have you ever shot with a dedicated camera, turned portrait, and then like formally edited it, and then uploaded it to a Instagram story or a Snapchat or anything?
Well, it's interesting. There are a lot of cameras now that's like the feature, right? The vlogger camera now can shoot vertical, and so you can have a better quality video, but with a real dedicated camera, right? But yeah, I don't make a big habit of that, but I definitely think the phone has a great place, right? It's easy and it's portable, and the workflow is what it is. But you can get live stream and you can post stuff immediately, and those are the amazing benefits of the phone. But I don't think it replaces cameras, because there's always going to be a place where you need that quality and you need the technical buttons and the specs and stuff and the low light. There's a lovely convergence happening, but I just don't know if it'll replace all the needs out there. There's just so many different ways to have. I mean, you want to have mobile. We got to have a good mobile.
Yeah,
we got to have it in our pocket.
I think it fills a new need of communicating socially, online.
Yeah.
I also, it's funny because I travel with expensive cameras all the time. I'm going around with cameras, but I try to keep the risk on my phone lower than the risk on those cameras, just in the way of like, that's my connection to the world. So when you're out there using it for production, it's actually for me more nerve-wracking than shooting an expensive camera, mostly because I own it, I guess, because if I own those other cameras, I might feel different.
That is a factor,
but it's more of like that. This is, if I break the screen on this, man, I'm gonna have to get all the way home before I get a new phone. This is gonna be a big pain in the butt. I'm gonna get glass slivers on my fingers from crack screen, whatever. I don't know. It just has a whole different spot for me, as far as like, this is going to be with me and safe. It's like, I don't want to lose my wallet. I know I can replace everything in my wallet, but I don't want to do it. Yeah, it would be hard.
Well, you know why that is because you've broken your screen. You know how miserable that is to do.
Oh yeah.
But just imagine what it'll be like if you broke one of those Sigma lenses that they lent us a while back, and having to tell them that.
I've broken a camera too. I know it feels bad, but
But at least you're
accidents.
not put in a spot where it's hard for you to get home.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that sounds like first world, whatever. I can't get home without my phone.
That's a millennial problem.
It kind of is like hard. Like if that's your connection to the world, it's going to be difficult to.
It totally is. I mean, I don't
travel without it.
I don't travel with any paperwork or like I just, I have that in my email. I'll look that up. I don't even know my, it's like.
You don't print your travel itinerary and all your confirmation and keep it in a folder?
No, I saw a gentleman doing that this last week. I felt so good for him.
That's what I did when I went to Europe. I had everything printed out.
Yeah, he had his nice
pull. You're so prepared.
Yeah.
You never know when your connectivity is going to go down.
Yeah, true.
Oh, see, I take screen grabs.
It's true. That's true. You suddenly lose battery, or there's a lot of what ifs that you got to be prepared.
Well, you know what phones can't do currently is 6K video. Subtle segue to our next topic.
Yeah.
So we have an author, Bill Barona, on Videomaker.com, wrote an article about saying you really didn't need 4K, and you definitely don't need 6K. I actually think that there's still a strong argument that says most people don't need 4K, and we could say that clearly people who are making the Avengers probably need 6K, I guess,
or greater. Yeah.
Yeah, but for the everyday user, 6K still seems not only maybe out of reach, but unnecessary. maybe the person who might need it the most out of any of us is Jules. Jules, do you have clients who are demanding the highest resolution video?
Always, constantly. No, I'm just joking. I mean, I don't shoot for 6K. I don't think that everybody needs it, but there's some cool, obviously, reasons why. But oh my gosh, I see so many people when they're just getting started freaking out about technical specs. Like, oh my gosh, does it have 4K? And I'm like, you're not going to vlog in 4K,
yeah,
like,
right.
Especially, with your computer. Like, you need a solid, fast computer to deal with it once you're done filming it. So I think a lot of it's just education, because we all get excited about the new thing, but like being practical is not always fun, but you kind of have to be practical.
I feel like it really stems from where the video is going to go. And I feel like there's a hunger online, and it's easy to deliver 4K, right? We can get edge-to-edge UHD on just about every platform. But in my home, other than, of course, like my internet subscriptions or whatnot, I'm not getting broadcast television in 4K anywhere in the United States. So, if you're in broadcast TV at all, 4K is nothing but, a way to shoot a wide and a tight at the same time, and unlikely to gain budget for you to get a heavier computer to be able to handle that, the 4K even. I mean, when I was at the TV station, people would have been like, 4K, what do I need 4K for? They were all still stunned from going from SD to HD, but it's, it's one of those things. But I've also produced something in full HD, converted it as the last step for YouTube, and no one said a thing.
4K to HD to 4K.
HD to 4K, yeah. And that because you're watching internet video and likely on your phone's not even 4K anyway. So, or the screen, so you're not gonna notice the pixels difference and whatnot. There's always going to be the pixel peepers and the people that need that kind of thing, but I think it really depends on your application of the video. I think you said for Marvel, it makes good sense. If I'm making a huge world and we're going to have to create a bunch of CG people in and all this kind of stuff, that like every single inch is going to probably be turned into a world of photogrammetry and mixing all that so that they can have the highest quality all the way through the pipeline. But
and then
if you're making
on huge screens,
exactly. I mean, there's just so much need for that higher resolution. Even on down just to being able to send it to people, on disk and whatnot. But
so, what about future proofing? So I don't know, Jules, if you've experienced this. You've been on YouTube a long time, so maybe you have. Videomaker certainly has. Videomaker was posting videos on YouTube before it was owned by Google, like back when it was just started in 2005. And so we have some old videos up there. And even today, I think today, we may have taken them down. We get comments on those old videos going, what's up with the standard resolution? Like, what's going on here?
This is shot in 133. Are you shooting on a potato? And it's like, look at the date on it. Like, HD didn't exist. I mean, I did, but it wasn't on the internet. It wasn't streaming.
So how valuable is it to post 6K videos today in anticipation for people who might watch your video 12 years from now?
Well, and here's the thing, is 6K is not really all that standardized either. I mean, it's kind of a resolution, but if you're shooting it on the S1H, it's 4:3. If you want to shoot 16:9, it's 5.9K. And so, if you're talking about 6 and 8K, where really there's the leader, which is red, pushing those resolutions, and it makes sense if you're shooting something that needs a $40,000 camera, that it's likely you're going to want to shoot a higher resolution than you need, or for archiving or whatever, or it might just be for a better outcome to minimize the noise, so one piece of noise doesn't take up 1 pixel or whatnot. There's a lot of great benefits there, but I don't think there's anything. I mean, I think even 4K, the argument for 4K is still difficult for most people. We do it in 4K. Oh, we lost your camera again.
Here it is.
She's back.
Okay.
Oh, that was great. Oh, it was just battery. Okay, cool.
Chris, you were saying?
Yeah. Man, what was I saying? Well, just the need for 4K, I think, is a hard argument still. We switched to 4K because we were doing reviews of cameras that shot 4K, and we wanted to be able to show people the 4K footage. And at first, that was somewhat difficult because we had like one 4K camera, so we'd use that, or you're testing 4K, and then you have to shoot everything else in HD, the B-roll, and then upscale it or what have you. And then now I can't say we have any cameras in the building that don't shoot 4K that still work. And it's, did we need it? Well, along the way, we also had a huge increase of data storage, a huge increase in computer power to do those things. And, I still get, when I'm shooting, especially the 4K RAW from C200, it doesn't want to play back real time sometimes on my $10,000 iMac Pro. It should, having those kinds of issues can be troubling when you're like, this is all high-end stuff. It should be working great. And I imagine, editing from a laptop, I was trying to just even preview some frames on the Mac Pro there, the 2016 one, and it showed me, 1 or 2 frames a second maybe, of that 4K RAW. So it's like, if I was going to do anything, I was going to have to transcode it, and then do I have time to transcode all that and everything? So I think it's just one of those things where, do you need it for the project? I know the workflow for not shooting in log is so much nicer than shooting in log, but if you need that extra dynamic range and you want to you're going to have to do some coloring and whatnot, it's really nice to have that when you're doing it. But so it's, we're at a place where you have to make these technical choices that might limit your creative abilities later. But I think it's just it's good to make decisions and choices instead of going, I'll figure out how to do that later. If you're doing, like, I'm going to shoot in 6K just in case I might need it. Well, it's likely you're just going to create a lot more data for yourself and you're never going to use that 6K.
Yeah.
If it's not needed for the project right now for a reason, why are you using it? It seems like you're just adding hoops for yourself to jump through just for the experience, which is sometimes worth it. But, if I'm getting paid on a gig, I'm not offering them something they're not paying for only for the sake of adding the complexity to the problem. You are, not that 4K is a complexity, but
it can be.
I remember I shot when I did a review on the GH4, I was still making commercials. I shot a commercial on the GH4 and I couldn't hardly edit the commercial because the computer wouldn't play back 4K very well. And so then it's like, I'll test it in HD just so I can actually edit this video. And so, I think it's all about what application it's for, but I'm not for switching to 6K for any reason at the moment.
Even beyond the computer being able to play back the video, there's also just the problem of, like, it's just more expensive to get the storage to store all of your raw footage, right? Like, Chris, you went and shot in Canada recently, right? Like, how much data did you come back with?
2 terabytes.
2 terabytes for one shoot, right?
45-minute interview, and I have about 20 minutes worth of B-roll.
Data's cheaper, storage is cheaper than it's ever been, but that's kind of ridiculous.
If you're buying, that's probably $100 worth of, if you're just buying a hard drive to store that.
Yeah. Jules, when you shoot a project, do you keep all of your B-roll, like, in perpetuity, or do you just, like, clear it after the project's done?
It varies per contract for sure. And that's an interesting topic right now. Because I have companies all the time being like, hey, Jules, we love your videos. Can we borrow your content? And it's such a long-winded conversation to see, like, how can we partner together? Because, from the traditional media world, when you were hired as a freelancer, everything you shoot on that day, they own, right? And as a content creator, you can make up your own rules a little bit. You can say, like, I own everything. Are we going to work together or not? And you do need some lawyers around, but but those conversations are exciting because, like, you could go to one place potentially and reuse the content as you need to. So yeah, it's an interesting field right now, and especially that brings me, with YouTube, so many people can publish, but that's the big debate too, is like, do you need a location release? Do you need appearance releases for these things? There's just a lot of kind of gray area with all that kind of stuff. So
it reminds me of, like, the stock footage, drone footage that, like, they're not putting in there. Like, I saw one of Yosemite. It was a beautiful shot of Yosemite from a drone. And I'm like, I know that's illegal. No one ever gets permission to do that. How do you have that clip? And that bothers me because, one, if I was there, I'd be really pissed off that a drone was flying. That's a really a place you just don't do that. And I think there's a lot of sacred places that need to keep those kinds of things from getting there, just because we need to keep some of those places clear of that. But that it's just so amazing that we have there's just the world of trying to, everybody can publish on YouTube. That means everybody could probably steal your work from YouTube and use it on your own. I mean, Mark Roper is really smart. Every time he does his crazy things, always when it goes to that like aha footage of that thing working that's going to be really amazing, of him throwing the dartboard moving for it or whatever, he watermarks that stuff because someone's going to make that into a GIF. And then, so it's good that he has his name on it. Yeah, and he knows that's going to be, I'm going to get shared by some third, fourth, fifth party on Facebook 2 years from now, claiming it's theirs and getting the views from it. And I don't think there's any way of stopping that.
I have to imagine that's a lesson he learned the hard way, right?
Oh, I'm sure. He probably did something really rad and was like, oh man, that's in every newscast tonight and my name's not on it. I mean, for how many views he gets, he's only got like 5 or 6 million subscribers. I mean, that's still a lot, but like the guy like makes 12 videos a year and every single one of them gets over 10 million views. Like that's big stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as storage goes, then it sounds like at least for the type of work that Jules is doing, definitely the type of work that we're doing, it's smart to just keep all of your stuff, right? Like you never know when you're going to need to dig into the archives and pull out a shot that you took years ago. We
really lucked out. I just finished a course and it was on streaming, and we had a whole bunch of footage of not streaming but doing a multi-camera shoot. What's the difference between a multi-camera shoot and live streaming? The internet. That's it. So it was like I got to use so much B-roll from that are still applicable, that was exactly to verbatim what we were talking about, and we just got lucky that we already paid to have that produced years ago.
So the question is, in those circumstances, should you have shot it at a higher resolution? Should you have shot it at 6K for anticipating that you'll have use for that clip years later? Maybe. But I think you could make the argument that 6K is never going to be a thing, so don't bother. Save the clip. You can use it again, but you don't need 6K.
6K will be a thing, and the reason why is it's a whole lot easier to do full pixel readout on a full frame sensor at 6K. And because of that, I mean, that's why Canon's having the problem. They've always been able to do full frame HD, and they can't do 4K, full frame 4K because the sensor won't. It's not pixel for pixel. They have to crop it, and so you're gonna get those crops going away without having to have pixel binning or whatnot.
Okay, Chris. But I'm gonna make another bold claim since you say you're confident it's gonna be a thing. I'm gonna say 6K will never be a thing, at least in someone's home. And the reason is because there's just a problem of screen size and viewing distance.
Yeah.
And at a normal size screen, unless you're going to take up an entire wall, no one can tell the difference already between 1080p and 4K unless they're sitting like 3 feet away from their screen. And they definitely will never be able to tell the difference between 4K and 6K. And so the TV companies are going to make these 6K screens, and they're going to like put the sticker on there that 6K, and they're going to tell all these people that you're a loser if you don't buy the 6K screen.
Meanwhile, they're going to discontinue the 4K and HD ones. So then
so you'll buy it.
TV,
everyone will have a 6K screen. But you and I, as content creators, will never have to do anything beyond 1080. We'll scale it up to 6K, and no one's going to be the wiser.
I think you're true. Well, I don't think that 6K TVs are going to all of a sudden happen, because I think 4K was still an argument for people to having a hard time, especially because we don't have broadcast TV. But I think on the camera side, it's just they need to continue to offer new features in cameras.
Sure.
And the reason why 6K is nice for the creator is it gives you some flexibility. And then as well, if it's pixel for pixel readout, now I can pay for a full frame and use the whole thing. If you're a Canon user, everybody else has seemed to figure it out, which I think is funny. But regardless, I think it's just easier to do that, and I think it'll be a good selling thing when you can say full frame 6K or whatever. And I think everybody will do it. I mean, I think every brand will have a 6K as their next.
So here's the trick.
Level.
The TV companies are going to make 6K screens. The camera companies are going to make 6K cameras. Maybe people will demand 6K content, but the secret of it is, the hard drive companies are going to certainly want to convince you that you need 6K, but the secret is we can all shoot in 1080 and scale it up, save the room on the hard drive space, and all's good.
Yeah,
no one will notice.
Spend some money for some good upconvert stuff that really, because I mean really. There's some really good stuff, and I don't think for a lot of output people wouldn't have any of the foggier.
Yeah. Jules, I just saw you chime up.
Oh, well, I don't want to steer you guys another direction, but I was just thinking, as a solo filmmaker, oh my God, 4K saves my life so many times. When you hand that camera to someone who doesn't know what they're doing, and then you get like, you can fix it, tweak it, crop it. You got like multiple shots and a 6K. Oh my gosh, like I could do wonders with that. If that was in my kit.
Okay.
Like someone can shoot it wide with like no stability, and you could have like a just money static shot from the digital.
Put warp stabilizer on there. And
that's hold
my camera.
Brendan Vetter, the guy we interviewed about his documentary, he had a whole part of his film where he didn't have access to the main subject's family and house, and they had a close friend that was a video producer, so he sent all of his gear up to this guy just so he could have this in-house family time shooting, because they trusted this guy, not the filmmaker. And he had to come up with a creative way to use all that footage, because it was all overexposed, a little blurry. And so it's actually a theme through his whole movie, that it kind of goes back to this dream world of whenever he's thinking about home. And the reason why it does that is actually a response to how it was shot, and that it was all overexposed, and the guy didn't know as much about what he should have been doing. And so he had to use it creatively. And I mean, I do that. I mean, I use I'm trying to shoot 2 cameras, and I'm shooting in 4K, so I can have that crop in. But if I was shooting 6K, now I have 1 camera, and that's pretty rad.
Okay, so let's see. I don't want to hold anyone longer than we were scheduled to go here. This is a longer one, it seems like. So we'll wrap it up, but just one last word on resolution. I think that the only place that high resolution cameras will be important is VR. So they say that the holy grail of VR is 16K per eye. So
got a long way to go.
You were talking about viewing distance, like that's
viewing
as close as
distance,
you can
right?
get,
You're like
right?
a fraction of an inch away from your eyeball, right?
We'll get 6K or 8K cameras and above before 6K TVs are actually selling.
Oh yeah,
willfully.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, maybe we'll call it good there. Thanks so much, Jules, for being on the show, and we'll catch everyone next time. Bye-bye.
This was so much fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks to our guest, Juliana Broste, for joining us. You can find her at Traveling Jules on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and at travelingjules.com. For Nicole Lajeunesse, Chris Monlux, and everyone here at Videomaker, I'm Mike Wilhelm, and you've been listening to the Videomaker Podcast. We'll catch you next time.